This is not what you should be thinking about right now. Instead, let's check out this brand new first class bus. It's got a bar, the most luxurious bathroom I've ever seen on a bus, and seats you've got to see to believe. Hello, Jet Setters. I'm Jeb Brooks from greenergrass.com. Right now, I'm in Washington, D.C. I've got to head up to New York City. Now, I made this trip by plane and train, but today I'm trying something new, something different, traveling by bus. But this claims to be different than any other bus. Let's check out the Jet. I hung out in Lafayette Square just long enough to chase off a squirrel before heading to the meeting point in the heart of downtown DC. The journey is scheduled to take 4 hours to cover the 228 miles, mostly along Interstate 95, which runs along the east coast of the United States. So I got an email saying that there was a covered waiting area here at the corner of 13th and F, which is where I am now, but I don't see anything, so I got to explore a little bit to see if I can find it. Well, can't see anything here. This is a little tricky. It's still new service, so I guess you got to give them that. But I guess I'll hang out. The good news is I'm early, so that's helpful. While I'm waiting, I just want to tell you, I'm so excited about this experience. It's something new for me, and anytime it's a new kind of transportation experience, I'm all over it. So I can't wait to share it with you. And suddenly, without any fanfare, 20 minutes before departure, at the southeast corner of 13th and F Street Northwest, our chariot arrived. There it is. It's here. It's a beautifully painted Prevost coach. Prevost is a Quebec-based manufacturer, a subsidiary of Volvo. Checking in is about as straightforward as it possibly could be, with a member of the Jet team simply looking at your ticket and saying, "Welcome on board." Bag storage is also no problem. This is a vehicle capable of carrying more than 50 people, but with only 14 passenger seats. On this one, everyone has loads of room. Inside, this bus is unlike any bus I've ever seen. It truly embodies the moniker motor coach, and the phrase first class is not hyperbole here. It's beautifully appointed, very comfortable, and even has hardwood floors. It's the seats that make it comfortable. More about those in just a bit. It's hard to believe this is on wheels. Here's where the real action happens. This is one of the hardest jobs out there, especially driving around Manhattan. Here's my seat, 1A. Selecting this premium seat adds $8 to the base fare of $99. The view is worth the extra. We were welcomed aboard by the company's CEO, Chad Spargo.
A month into this thing, so really a startup. So really appreciate you guys being with us today. I say to everyone, if you love us, please tell everyone you know about it. If there's anything you do better, you can find out directly.
And he did. In fact, I was emailing with him during our trip, which began right on time at 11 o'clock. If everything goes according to plan, we'll pull into New York's Hudson Yards at 3 o'clock, 4 hours from now. At more than $100 for a premium seat like mine, it's definitely not as cheap as some alternative buses, but more similarly priced to a Acela, which shaves an hour off the trip like that. But which mode would you prefer to connect between these two cities? Leave a comment below. Train, the plane, the bus, something else? And stick around to the end of the video to hear the Jet score for this experience and find out whether I'll book another trip on the Jet. Now, let me tell you what makes this really special. And the answer is these seats. The Jet's website claims that these hover seats are unlike any experience you've had in travel. A comfort so unique, you have to experience it to fully appreciate it. Now, frankly, I didn't really believe that when I read it. I gotta tell you, that's exactly right. These motion-canceling seats are what make the Jet stand out among other modes of transportation between these two cities. Although it's tough to describe or even capture on video, you're effectively floating, undisturbed by the bumps and dips of the road. The seat counteracts the rough road, the bus kind of moves around you and floats. I-95 is very bumpy, but this was the smoothest ride I've ever had on this interstate, thanks to the hover seat. They're 22 inches wide and reclining at 45 degrees. Now, of course, it has everything you want. There are plenty of plugs to power work for the entire journey, even a cup holder. The tray table is a bit small, but there's nothing for my laptop. There are also air vents and reading lights above, as well as a call button. There's also room above the seat for smaller carry-on bags. And about 12 minutes into our trip, we hit the first traffic jam we encountered. This, of course, is the great equalizer when it comes to road travel, particularly in this heavily populated part of the country. About a glimpse of a competitor, the FlixBus, caught in the same traffic jam. But their seats aren't nearly as nice as the ones on this bus, though. But we soon broke out of that jam and were rolling. You never know what kinds of vehicles you'll see when you're driving around Washington.
Going the extra mile is more rewarding with the American Express Business Flat. Earn 5 times points on flights and prepaid hotels booked on mxtravel.com.
They say our people were born on the water, but nothing had existed before.
New York Times published
The 1619
We were told by virtue of our bondage, we could never be American. But it was by virtue of our bondage that we became the most American of all.
There are 2 crew members on board, the driver, of course, and an attendant who sits here and works out of a fully equipped galley. Right now, the snacks and drinks are pretty basic, but there are plans to add elevated options like hummus and charcuterie. Given the timing of the trip leading right at lunchtime, it will be nice to have more substantial options than what's available right now. The jet plans to have those on board by January 2022. Beer, wine, and soft drinks are also available, along with coffee. One of the most common concerns about bus travel is the bathroom. Well, the jet has taken care of that, not only by only having 14 people on board, but also just look at how nice it is. Certainly puts Amtrak to shame, doesn't it? Even the sink is high-end. Before we departed, our attendant had provided some tips to us. Passengers are encouraged to remain seated for the entire journey, but if you do need to get up, it's important to hold onto this handrail. The last thing you want to do is fall into the lap of a stranger. Our attendant also asked the passengers to keep phone calls to a minimum. Unfortunately, not everyone followed that advice. So, as usual, I was glad to have my noise-canceling headphones with me, something I encourage you to pack as well. Between the motion-canceling seat and my noise-canceling headphones, I was canceling my way up I-95. I asked for a cup of coffee. And it's not just regular coffee. No, they have espresso drinks. So I had a cappuccino. And let me tell you, it was really good. It's clear the jet team spent a lot of time working on their Wi-Fi. It's ridiculously fast, like faster than my Wi-Fi at home. They say it's the fastest Wi-Fi in mass transit travel, and I believe it. At one point, we passed another competitor, Megabus. They weren't making quite as much progress as we were. As we got to Philadelphia, our attendant passed through the cabin to share with everyone that our ETA was an on-time 3 o'clock. It's time for the Jet Score. Can I give a Jet Score to a bus trip? I don't see why not. This is the completely subjective means of rating a travel experience and has us look at 5 factors. The lounge, the seat, the food, the in-seat entertainment, and the service. First, there's no lounge. I wish there were at least a sign that said the jet somewhere so I knew where I was going, but there's no lounge and that means 0 stars here. Next, the seat. This is an unbelievable seat. This is the #1 reason to take this trip. A plane may be faster and a train may have more departure times, but neither of those modes are as comfortable as this. You truly have to experience it to believe it. And for the first time ever, I'm doing something crazy. I'm giving 6 stars on a 5-star scale. The food is lacking for now, but as they said, they're in startup mode. At least they have something though, and the coffee is really good. Plus, beer and wine are complimentary. 3 stars here for now. The in-seat entertainment. Well, you kind of have to supply your own. It's not like I-95 has a lot to offer in terms of beautiful scenery. But that's not the fault of the jet. The windows are large and provide a full view of what's happening around you. Where they shut is the Wi-Fi. I do wish there were screens in front of the bus with a map showing progress, but the Wi-Fi alone is worth 4 stars. Finally, service. Our attendant was great. She was always available if someone wanted something and also checked on us throughout the trip. She was genuinely excited to be with us on this journey and kept the bus tidy. 5 stars here. So that leaves the jet from DC to New York with 18 out of a possible 25 stars. Very respectable. Would I book another trip with the jet? The answer is yes. I really like the seat. But if time were the essence, the risk of a traffic jam and a limited schedule would make me choose the Cessna. That said, we arrived 3 minutes early on this day. I really hope the jet continues to grow because it's the most comfortable way to get between these two cities.
The magic is calling you to stay at a Disney Resort Hotel, where you're surrounded by the world's most magical celebration.
Atlanta, Detroit, Minneapolis, Los Angeles, Seattle, Salt Lake City, New York's JFK. If you've ever flown with Delta Airlines, you know that flew through 1 or 2 of those airports. Have you ever visited all 7 in a single day? Is that even possible? Well, you're about to find out because I'm giving it a try. Join me as we attempt this 24-hour aviation marathon we're calling Hub Hopping Delta Edition.
Hello, Jetson. I've always wondered if it's possible to go through every Delta hub in one day. Well, I'm Jeb Brooks from greenergrass.com. We're about to find out together. This is Hub Hopping.
Here's the plan. We're leaving Atlanta at 6 a.m., and if all goes well, we'll land at JFK exactly 24 hours later, having flown through all of Delta's legacy hubs. Let's recap. That's 7 airports, 6 flights, over 6,000 miles in 24 hours. Let's get started. To make this happen, I'll need every one of those 24 hours. My first flight leaves Atlanta at 6 a.m., and that's when the clock starts. But I got to the airport at 4:15, and plenty of time for departure.
I think I'm here before security even opens, so I'm really excited about this. What can I say?
No surprise about the crowds. This is the world's busiest airport, after all.
Good vibes only. So security opens at 4:30, but this really starts cracking at 4:45. That's okay. Boarding's not till 5:20, and we're midway over the gate. This is a marathon, not a sprint.
This Airbus A321 will be the first ride of the day. Everything looked to be on time, so I decided to slip into the Sky Club for some coffee. But it doesn't open for another 45 minutes.
Well, that was a swing on this one. I guess I'll get some coffee over here. He's right over there. So go ahead and pause the video here and let me know. Do you think I'm going to make it? I really don't know. There are so many moving pieces. So just pause the video here and leave a comment down below. Do you think I'm going to make it? I hope so.
And even though I was on my own out here, I had some help back home. Suzanne is keeping an eye on things in case anything goes awry.
Hey, it's Suzanne, checking in from Greensboro, North Carolina. I have opened a command center today. I'm tracking all of Jet's flights, monitoring for any weather, delays, any issues. And, of course, repping Delta and sending those good vibes his way.
Meanwhile, back in Atlanta,
Boarding flight number 1. We're going to Detroit.
Our hometown.
I quickly settled in. And now I booked this hub-hopping adventure in first class. I know it's indulgent, but I wanted to have as much room as possible. And sitting toward the front of the plane, so that I could get off more quickly on tight connections. More on how we booked these tickets in a bit. The captain wants to have a word.
We can stand away for just a few more minutes. Once we've been away, it's 1 hour 28 minutes en route today to Detroit. A little bit of patchy frost this morning out on the wings, so we will stop by the ice today and get the plane at the ice for that little bit of frost out there. That probably takes about 10 to 15 minutes, and then we'll be maxing out on it.
And he was right. It did not take much time. We took off from Atlanta at 6:21, so the clock has officially started. I've got 24 hours to make it through every Delta hub. But let's hope for no more ice. I was grateful to Delta for including seat-back entertainment on most of the fleet. Would there be enough movies to keep me entertained for 24 hours, though? We'll see. Wi-Fi was available on this flight for $5. Delta's currently testing free Wi-Fi for SkyMiles members, and thankfully I was on one of the test aircraft for 2 of today's flights. I couldn't pass up a second cup of coffee. And the views out the window were spectacular. Just a taste of what was to come. The sunrise was magical. Which is more than I can say for the in-seat entertainment. It failed mid-flight. Thankfully, I've had plenty of time to catch up on what I was watching. Hopefully, we're going to see all the hubs today. But let me know in the comments, which is the worst? Which is the best Delta hub? We got to the gate at 7:55, 4 minutes late. But 4 minutes isn't too bad. This almost seems too easy.
First flight, check. Second airport, check. Next stop, Minneapolis. Let's go. I was a little concerned when they had to de-ice, but thankfully we made plenty of time. I'm headed to the gate now. Check out the airplane. That's the airplane we're taking over to Minneapolis. The great news is it's also the plane that will be taking me on to Los Angeles. The stress of hub hopping. It always feels great to be back in Detroit. I'll never forget my most vivid memory of Detroit was flying on the inaugural A350, that very first time that Delta flew it from here in Detroit over to Tokyo Narita. That was also really early in the channel's history, so it's kind of a momentous thing to be back here in Detroit.
My euphoria was short-lived.
Gate agent just made an announcement that the flight crew are running behind. They just landed. They've got to make their way over to the gate and get the plane ready to go. There can be no doubt the hardest job in an airline is gate agent. These folks are the front lines. They have to deal with confused travelers who aren't sure what's happening, and dealing with delays and giving bad news to people all the time. So next time you're facing a gate agent, just express a little gratitude and say thanks.
As our boarding time came and went, there was still no sign of the crew.
This is nerve-wracking for sure. Look, I have an hour and 20 minutes in Minneapolis, but every second counts when you're hub hopping. Just announced a delay up there, but that should still give us enough time to connect in Minneapolis onto LA. This is killing me. Hub hopping is not for the faint of heart. Okay, I just spotted the crew. They're here, so they'll get the airplane checked out, make sure it's safe, and then we'll board. Hopefully, this is the fastest boarding experience in Delta history. Time to go to Minneapolis.
I was grateful for this, my third cup of coffee today. We were supposed to leave Detroit at 9:05, but didn't pull away from the gate until 9:19. It's going to take a miracle to reach Minneapolis on time at 10:08. And then, when you know it.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Portland Flight Deck, welcome aboard. As you've, I'm sure, already figured out, we're going to get some crossing from the lane. Once we get airborne today, an hour and 16 minutes over to Minneapolis, St. Paul.
And here's the thing about hub hopping. There's not much to be done while you're in the air. So, I had some ginger ale to calm my stomach. I was so nervous about this day. As I mentioned, Delta is currently testing free Wi-Fi for SkyMiles members. I was lucky enough to be on an airplane, this airplane, that was part of that test. It worked really well, and I hope the test is successful. Delta is able to roll this out fleet-wide, especially because it makes it easier to share your progress with others. Somehow, we touched down at 9:55, giving us plenty of time to get to the gate in time for an on-time arrival. Huge thanks to the pilots and air traffic controllers who made that miracle happen. But when you know it, our gate was occupied and we reached it. They had to wait to park. But somehow, we were still deboarding right on time at 10:08. I was living right today.
Second flight, check. Third airport, check. Next up, LA.
Minneapolis was bustling.
The best part of this, same plane, same gate to LA, so I don't even have to walk very far. But I think I am going to stretch my legs. We have about 30 minutes before boarding. I'm remembering one of my very first flights, international flights rather, was out of here. I flew from here in Minneapolis to Rome on a Northwest Airlines DC-10. What a great memory that is. Let's hope that fire alarm is not real and this does not cause a delay. That's not what I need right now. I went to the customer service desk to print boarding passes, and I have to admit, the reaction of this agent seeing my reservations lined up on the screen was pretty funny. Well, first of all, fire alarm's off. Second of all, that was a great interaction. The customer service agents really throughout Delta are great. In order to make this work, I booked 3 separate tickets. Atlanta to Minneapolis through Detroit 1. This was the second from Seattle through LA. And the final push from Seattle to New York through Salt Lake was the 3rd ticket. Given the fact that G21 is about as far at the end of the airport as you can get, I really lucked out having the same gate hit airplane on the inbound as the outbound. I just wanted to take a quick moment and let you know that we'll be offsetting the carbon not only just from this hub hopping adventure, but also all of our flights from this year. Just seems like the right thing to do. Time to get back on board to LA. I got on a plane at 10:53. We're scheduled to leave here at 11:31 and get into LAX at 1:36. We made our way out to the runway and were airborne on time. Thankfully, no delays or even any need to de-ice this time, and that was crucial. LA is the tightest connection of the day. If we're on time, I'll only have 43 minutes on the ground there before my next flight to Seattle. I was grateful to have a bite to eat on this flight. I received an email a few days earlier with options for lunch. Out of these, what do you think I picked? The cheeseburger, of course. It tasted just like a burger that had been reheated on a plane, but beggars can't be choosers, and I was extremely thankful to have something, anything to eat, particularly on this longer flight. This was by far one of the most beautiful flights across the country I can recall. Now, things got really good once we crossed the Rocky Mountains, but we first had to make our way through some pretty choppy air. Not only did the routing take us over some of the nation's most beautiful places, but a recent snowstorm made everything just so much more scenic. For the rest of this flight, I simply relaxed and barely took my eyes off the window. The views of the Colorado's snowy peaks were surpassed only by the deserts and canyons of Utah. We passed over Arches National Park, Canyonlands, and Zion, too. As we reached Las Vegas, though, Suzanne was still keeping an eye on things.
Let us know in the comments, what websites do you typically use to track flights? As you can see, I'm a flight aware gal.
And thanks to her command center, I knew we were okay for time as we entered Los Angeles airspace. Landing in Los Angeles after being in those snowy hubs up north was certainly a change of pace, but I needed to get to the gate to make my way to the next flight on to Seattle. I was headed east again. Thankfully, we were early. We got to the gate at 1:04. Delta seems like an on-time machine today, but will that continue? Flight 3, check. Airport 4, check. Next stop, Seattle. Los Angeles, LAX is the only airport to appear in both of the hub-hopping videos that I've made so far, United and Delta, so it's exciting to be back for this purpose. Lucky again. The flight to Seattle was just around the corner at gate 37A. This was always going to be my tightest connection, and I've got about 30 minutes or so before boarding begins. I'm feeling good. I'm about halfway through. There's still a lot that can happen, and delays tend to stack toward the end of the day, and that's where we are. So on to Seattle, and then still 2 more flights after that. This flight up the West Coast was on board another 737. Let's go to Seattle. I boarded at 1:41 for our 2:19 departure. I'm getting tired. This was another beautiful flight, a great way to take in the West Coast. Again, this was another meal flight, although I wasn't all that hungry thanks to the lunch I had just a few hours before. I couldn't say no when meatballs were a menu. And these were some pretty good meatballs.
much better than ones you may have seen previously on this channel.